Have you ever finished a game and thought, why did anyone tell me about this before? Why isn't this game more famous? Well, the video game industry spends millions on marketing to tell you what to play. But what about the games nobody told you to play? The ones that came out at the wrong time, with the wrong budget, at the wrong moment, and simply disappeared. That's exactly what we are going to talk about today. Get ready to add a lot to your list, because these games deserve much more than they received. And as always, I will not spoil you anything major, just enough to spark your interest and convince you to give it a chance and play. If you can help me, please leave a like to the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Yugito, and let's go! Sleeping Dogs is an open-world action game. You play as Wei Shen, a Hong Kong police officer who infiltrates Sanoni, one of the city's largest triads. The story explores a brutally human internal conflict. How far will you go to complete the mission? When does the mission begin to consume who you are? The narrative constantly makes you question which side are you on. Are you a cop or a criminal? The line becomes increasingly blurred as you delve deeper into the world of the triads. This game is in this list because it had a weak marketing. Square Enix didn't know how to sell the game, and it was also released in the shadow of GTA 5, which was coming out shortly after. The game had mediocre sales, but received very positive reviews, currently with a note of 80 on Metacritic. So why should you play this game? Well, it has mature and cinematic narrative, an overwhelming and unique melee combat. Hong Kong is an absolutely brilliant setting. Story with really emotional weight, remastered and available at a low price on PC, and completes in 20 to 30 hours, neither too short nor too long. I dare to say that Sleeping Dogs does what most open world games fail to do. It makes you feel something for the story and the characters. It's the GTA that Rockstar never dared to make. Evil West, it's a third-person action game. You play as Jesse Rainier, a vampire hunter with a huge metal gauntlet strapped to his arm. The world is an alternate Wild West where supernatural creatures threaten the civilization, and the Raytheon Institute is the last line of defense. The story won't win any narrative awards, but it has its own charm that works perfectly with the game's tone. The problem with Evil West is that it was released in an era saturated with open world games. It's mixed reviews that turn players away, and a small studio without much of a fan base. Evil West has a note of 73 on Metacritic. But why should you play it? It has a fluid and brutal and extremely satisfying combat, a unique blend of Wild West, vampires and steampunk, an online co-op to play with a friend. It's linear and straightforward, no filler or boring side quests. Ideal playtime of 12 to 15 hours, and it's available at an affordable price on PC and consoles. Evil West, it's brutal, fun and straightforward action game, and in that, it succeeds perfectly. It's exactly the kind of game that the industry needs to make more of. The next on this list is Prey, an immersive first-person shooter. The game takes place in an alternate timeline where humanity has developed orbital stations following an accelerated space race. The player assumes the role of Morgan Yu, a member of a scientific team aboard the Talos 1 space station, studying the Typhon, an hostile alien force with both physical and psychic powers. When the Typhon escapes confinement, the player uses various weapons and abilities to survive and end the alien outbreak. Prey makes this list because of the confusing name. Many people thought it was a sequel to the 2006 Prey, which was a completely different game. Weak marketing from Bethesda that failed to communicate what the game really was, and the game didn't generate much hype or discussion before the release, and released at a time with a lot of competition in the market. Prey has a note of 82 on Metacritic. But why should you play this game? I'll tell you why. It has total freedom of approach. Every situation has multiple solutions. Absolutely brilliant science fiction atmosphere. Deep and satisfying upgrade system. Narrative with genuinely surprising twists. A highly detailed environmental narrative. Every corner tells a story. And, most important, available at a very low price currently. Prey is the game that Arkane Studios should never let die. It's one of the best examples of immersive sci-fi stories ever created, and most people don't even know it exists. If you enjoy Bioshock, Deus Ex or Dishonored, then this game was made for you. Hollow Knight is a 2D action-adventure game. The game immerses players in the heart of Hallownest, a now-ruined subterranean kingdom. As a silent insectoid knight, players explore the interconnected land, battling the infection that plagues its inhabitants, on a journey that leads them to confront the kingdom's dark past and tragic history. Instead of dumping the narrative on the player through narration or cutscenes, the game rewards the natural desire to explore by revealing fragments of information along the way. So why it's underrated? The game was made by just 3 people. Team Cherry is a tiny studio from Australia, released without much marketing or promotional budget. The difficulty in this game put off casual players right from the start. Many people still don't know that it's completely free on Game Pass. The Metroidvania genre is still unknown to a large part of the public. Hollow Knight has a note of 87 on Metacritic. And why you must play? I'll tell you why. It has over 50 hours of content in a constant win and death experience, completely hand-drawn art that is visually stunning, orchestral music that will stay in your memory forever, and you have 4 free DLCs included in the base version. It has a ridiculous low price. And last, each player can take exactly what they want from the experience, from a faster pace, to a story-focused adventure, to an exhaustive hunt for secrets and optional bosses. Hollow Knight was made by 3 people in a garage in Australia, and it's better than most games with million-dollar budgets. If you haven't played it yet, you are missing out on one of the most complete experiences video games have ever offered. Outer Wilds is probably the most unique game ever created, and I'm going to do something different on this one, and I'm not gonna give you anything. No plot, no spoilers, not anything. I want you to go in completely blind, because the experience depends on it. This game is only here because the concept is difficult to explain without spoiling the experience. No combat or traditional progression that can put off conventional players. Many people give up in the first few hours because they don't understand what to do. And the publisher, Annapurna Interactive, is a small publisher without much reach. Outer Wilds has a note of 85 on Metacritic. What is impressive about this game is that it started as a master thesis project and ended up winning a BAFTA for Best Game. Outer Wilds is one of those games that made me stop playing mid-game, just to think. It's probably the most important game you will ever play in your life. And yes, I'm completely serious. The next game, it's not for everyone. It's deliberately difficult, disturbing, and unfair. And that's exactly what makes it great. Pathologic 2 is an open-world survival thriller, set in a city being consumed by a deadly plague. You must confront the realities of a collapsing society while making difficult decisions in a seemingly hopeless situations. The plague is not just a disease. You can't save everyone. You only have 12 days. And why it's underrated? The Russian studio is unknown outside of Russia. Extreme difficulty puts most players off right from the start. Professional critics, from the most part, didn't understand it because they tried to compare it to the mainstream games. Technical problems at launch tarnish his reputation, and extremely difficult concept to explain. Pathologic 2 has one of the most lowest notes on this list, with a note of 70 on Metacritic. But then, why should you play it? Well, it has an absolutely unique experience, nothing compares to it. Literary level narrative and writing, a world that reacts to your decisions, a disturbing atmosphere, and without a doubt, something familiar will happen in the near future. Pathologic 2 doesn't want you to like it. It doesn't want you to succeed. It wants you to fail. It wants you to suffer. It wants you to understand what it's like to live in a dying city. It's the most uncomfortable game I ever played, and also one of the most important. If you have the stomach for it, it will change the way you see games forever. And by the way, Pathologic 3 just launched this year and has a note of 79. Maybe you should also check it after playing this one. Disco Elysium is a non-traditional RPG game with little combat. Instead, events are resolved through skill checks and dialogue trees using a system of 24 skills that represent different aspects and personalities of the protagonists, each of which can speak directly to the player to influence their decisions. Disco Elysium is about learning to exist at rock bottom, RPGs usually put us in the role of a powerful rising hero, but Disco Elysium established a different foundation. You are a careless detective and a disaster human being already defeated by life. Disco Elysium has one of the highest notes on this list, with a note of 86 to 89 on consoles and with a note of 97 on PC. So, then why it's in this list? I'll tell you why. It has a difficult concept to explain. You are a drunken detective with voices in your head. Doesn't sell well. No combat alienates players expecting a traditional RPG. Isometric visuals are unappealing to the mainstream audience. The game's main creators were suddenly fired in 2022, initiating a long legal process, and the entire original team was dismissed soon after, generating much controversy surrounding the game. And last, the Estonian studio was completely unknown before release. And you need reasons to play it? I can help you with that. It has one of the best writing ever put in a video game. It has total role-playing freedom. You can be any type of detective. It has a political and a philosophical world. British sea power soundtrack perfectly integrated with the atmosphere of the game. It has fully dubbed voices in the Final Cut version, and the Final Cut features complete voice acting, giving much complete sense of the characters' personalities. Disco Elysium is not just a game, it's a crime novel, a political critique, a philosophical exploration of human identity, and at the same time, the strangest and funniest thing you will ever see on a screen. If you like RPGs, please give this game a chance. Call of Juarez Gunslinger is a first-person shooter with a Western theme. An aging braggart recounts his fabulously interesting life, with some considerable exaggeration, to a open-mouthed audience. It's a work of pure fantasy, an exaggerated tale of the Wild West that recreates legends like Billy the Kid as supporting characters in a single-man's crusade against all the world's bandits. The story opens with Silas Greaves entering a saloon, where he recounts to a group of people his increasingly grandiose adventures involving Wild West legends such as Billy the Kid, Sundance Kid, Butch Cassidy, Jesse James, and the Dalton Gang. Call of Juarez Gunslinger has a note of 79 on Metacritic, and why is underrated? I will tell you why. It was released as a low-budget digital title, immediately treated as a second-rate product. Series with a bad reputation due to the launch of the disastrous Call of Juarez The Cartel that came before this one. Techland was known at the time mainly for Dead Island, not for quality shooters. Little marketing and visibility at launch. And at last, it's a super linear game, something that many critics perhaps fail to appreciate. So why should you play it? It has an unreliable narrator mechanic completely unique in an FPS. You get the feeling of being in a western with Clint Eastwood, easy to relate to the main character, and the ending is completely unexpected. Ideal playtime of 5 to 7 hours, perfect for the weekend. It has a ridiculous low price, and it's a game that never takes itself too seriously, and that's exactly what makes it so fun. Techland was in a position where they had to redeem themselves after the disasters of Call of Juarez The Cartel, launched in 2011. With Gunslinger, it not only redeemed themselves, but created the best game in the entire series. The ultimate irony, the cheapest game in a franchise is the best of them all. Call of Juarez Gunslinger was launched at a low price, and is more creative than most shooters with a budget of 100 million. A lying narrator, a Wild West that changes in real time, and shootouts that never get old. It's the kind of game that the industry doesn't make anymore, but definitely should. Kena Bridge of Spirits is a third-person action-adventure game. Kena is a spirit guide tasked with helping the dead transition from the realm of the living to the spirit world. On her journey, Kena faces deadly and corrupted enemies, but she's not alone. She's accompanied by allies and the lovable Rot. The story touches on themes of grief, unease, and acceptance. Amber Lab has done a delicate job of crafting a beautiful story about moving on. Kena Bridge of Spirits has a note of 83 on Metacritic. And why is underrated? Initially released as a PlayStation exclusive, limiting its reach, mistaken for a children's game due to its colorful visuals, but it has a genuinely challenging combat. Completely unknown studio before release. It is a short game that put off some players who expect a huge open world, and Amber Lab was very transparent about that, saying it could be completed in a weekend, which put off players who associate price with hours of gameplay. So, why must you play it? I can tell you. It is visually one of the most beautiful games ever created. A moving story about grief and acceptance that stays with you. Rots are absolutely adorable, and you can put ads on them. Surprisingly challenge combat for those who don't expect it. It's completable in about 10 hours, with straight up gameplay, more if you explore, and now available in all platforms, including Nintendo Switch 2. Kena Bridge of Spirits was made by a 15-person animation studio that had never made a game before, and the result is visually more beautiful than most AAA games. It's proof that soul and talent are worth more than budget. One of the most beautiful and moving games you will ever play. Mad Max is an action-adventure game set in an open-world post-apocalyptic environment. Max just wants to build a car that will allow him to travel to the Plains of Silence, a land where he imagines escaping the madness of the wasteland. A reluctant hero with a survival instinct, Max wants nothing more than to leave the madness behind. Players are challenged with dangerous missions as they score for supplies to build the ultimate combat vehicle. Mad Max has a note of 73 on Metacritic. This game didn't sell well because it was released on the same day as one of the most anticipated open-world games of the generation, in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. The game was supposed to surf on the hype of the movie, launched in the same year, Mad Max Fury Road. But the game got delayed, and apparently much of the original vision was also altered during development. Mixed reviews drove away the public, and most important, the director and creator of the Mad Max movies, George Miller, publicly stated that it wasn't the game that he wanted, which unfairly tarnished the game's reputation. With all of this being said, why should you give this game a chance? I will tell you why. It has an absolutely brutal and addictive vehicle combat with amazing mechanics, perfectly captured post-apocalyptic atmosphere, extremely satisfying car customization system, always available for a low price, and dozens of hours of a post-apocalyptic atmosphere open-world content that matches what you see in the movie. Mad Max was released on the worst possible day, criticized by the franchise's own creator, and ignored by almost everyone, and yet it's one of the most atmospheric and satisfying open-world games of the generation. A vast wasteland, brutal cars, and visual combat, all at a very low price. There's no excuse for you not to play it. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is an action-adventure game. The developer of this game has achieved the impossible, creating a vision of the Guardians of the Galaxy that isn't tied to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and can exist on its own. With rich dialogue and stories centered on characters and their personalities, players can forge their own path as Star-Lord, leading their band of rogues through the universe. The Guardians are chasing something evil that they themselves unleash. This narrative hook remains strong for most of the experience, moving at a good pace and striking a delicate balance between the serious and the absurd. The soundtrack in this game is absolutely amazing, rocking real tunes from the 80s and with original musics that definitely turn this game greater. If you are a fan of the movies, you will also fall in love with this game. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy has a note of 80 on Metacritic. So, what makes this game underrated? I will tell you. It was released just months after the disastrous Marvel's Avengers. The public was burnt out with Marvel games. Many people confuse it with a live service game like The Avengers and ignore it. The reveal trailer didn't make much of an impact. It seems generic, and a name very similar to the movies, causing confusion about whether it was just a cheap tie-in. This game is absolutely fun and you should try for yourself, but I will give you some extra reasons. It has no DLCs, no microtransactions, no online element. It's a complete game from day one. It is the best representation of the Guardians of the Galaxy ever made. Better than the movies, I dare say. It has an absolutely brilliant 80s soundtrack, story with genuine emotional weight and surprising twists, around 25 hours of high-quality single-player campaign, and it is available at a very low price currently on all platforms. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is everything that Avengers should have been. No microtransactions, no live service, just brilliant story, incredible characters, and the 80s soundtrack that will stay in your head forever. For the next one, I'm going to do something a little bit different, because to be honest, I couldn't decide which one I should include on this list, given the fact that I consider both as really underrated. Actually, the whole Deus Ex franchise is completely underrated. But today, I'm gonna talk about the perfect trilogy we never had. Before anything, I must state that these two games tells a continuous story, so you must play Human Revolution first and then Mankind Divided, as it is the direct sequel. They are two chapters of the same saga. Deus Ex Human Revelation is set in 2027. It tells the story of mechanic augmentations used to replace parts of the human body and the dangers and controversies that this technology brings to the society. Several powerful and shady factions fight for the power, secretly trying to guide and control humanity's evolutionary path. The protagonist is Adam Jensen, a security specialist at Sarif Industries, a biotech company that manufactures mechanical augmentations. After a devastating attack that leaves him on the brink of death, Adam is augmented to survive, but he struggles to accept how much the process has altered his humanity. Deus Ex Human Revelation has a note of 90 on Metacritic. 5 years later, we got the second game, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, set 2 years after the events of the first game, in 2029. The world still suffers the consequences of the AUG incident, as shown in Human Revolution. You are set in a version of the year 2029, where humanity is divided into two camps: citizens with mechanical augmentations versus the humans, called the naturals, who oppose to do augmentations due to its principles. The cities have become volatile, full of armed guards and checkpoints. Deus Ex Mankind Divided has a note of 84 on Metacritic. So why you must play both games? I will tell you. It has total freedom of approach, stealth, action, hacking, social, cyberpunk universe with real philosophical depth, an incredible satisfying augmentation system, mature narrative about identity, humanity and power. Both available at a ridiculous low price, and nothing in the gameplay is imposed by the story. Every decision is genuinely yours. Adam Jensen's trilogy was never complete. The third game was cancelled due to the tragedy that happened with the developer of the games, changing ends several times. Adam Jensen's story remains unfinished, probably forever, which makes these two games even more precious. Days Gone is an open-world action-adventure game. On the day of the outbreak, the protagonist Deacon St. John saves his wife by putting her on a rescue helicopter, but his friend is injured, so Deacon stays behind to help him, after promising to reunite with his wife. 2 years have passed since the outbreak, and you don't know anything about your wife, so you assume she's dead and you try to move on with your life. Deacon works odd jobs for various camps while trying to survive, accompanied by his motorcycle club friend, Boozer. After a turn of events, Deacon discovers there is a chance that his wife Sarah is still alive, so Deacon embarks on a quest to reunite with her. In my opinion, Days Gone is one of the most underrated and unfairly judged games ever. It has a note of 71 on PS4 and a note of 76 on PC. So what went wrong with this game? Well, when Days Gone arrived in 2019, it was easy to dismiss it as just another zombie game. Games like The Last of Us, Resident Evil and Dying Light had flooded the game world with endless zombie variations. One of the main reasons was also that Days Gone suffered from technical issues at launch, with players encountering bizarre glitches and bugs that broke immersion. Released between God of War and The Last of Us Part 2, comparisons impossible to win. The mixed reviews seem to fuel Sony's decision to refuse to pitch Bend Studio for a sequel. And final, Sony never seriously invested in marketing in this game. The developer Bend Studio turned things around by fixing the game, that went from a problematic launch to a game that should be played, and those who pick it up today will probably question why it received such a lukewarm reception. And what makes this game so underrated? I will tell you right now. It has hordes of hundreds of freakers, a unique experience in any game. Thrilling story about friendship, loss and survival. The motorcycle as a central mechanic is generally innovative. Visually stunning post-apocalyptic Oregon. A nice tree of skill sets to upgrade, for Deacon as well to the motorcycle. Main problems and bugs fixed it, and even got a 2025 remaster for PS5 that in my opinion was not needed. The game was and still is super beautiful with a rich world. Available on PC at a very affordable price. I played on PC and the experience was amazing. Days Gone has sold 9 million copies, comparable to the Ghost of Tsushima for example. So Bend Studio pitched the idea for Days Gone 2, but it was rejected by Sony. Sony preferred to cancel the sequel and distribute the studio to other projects. It's probably the most incomprehensible decision PlayStation has made in recent years. With millions of copies sold, with the winning of narrative awards, and with the creation of one of the most unique mechanics of the generation, hordes of hundreds of zombies chasing you in real time, Sony refused to make a sequel. It's a game that deserved much more than it received, from critics, Sony and the public. If you haven't played it yet, you are missing out on one of the most human and emotional stories ever told in a post-apocalyptic world. Vampire is a third-person action RPG. You control Jonathan Reed, a doctor who was made into a vampire, and whose thirst for blood compels him to kill innocent people. To do this successfully, you must study and change his target's habits, collect clues, and maintain relationships with the 60 citizens under his care in London, which serves as a fictionalized, semi-open world. This RPG with a branching narrative is filled with a macabre philosophical question and moral dilemmas, set against the perpetual reign of the grim London backdrop of 1918. The developers have managed to combine typical action RPG mechanics with a distinct character of the dark times of the Spanish flu pandemic and the unique atmosphere of classic vampire films. Vampire has a note of 72 on Metacritic, and why is underrated? In a market saturated with AAA titles, Vampire is a AA game with soul, something many critics fail to appreciate. Technical problems at launch tarnished the initial reception. Repetitive combat alienated players who expect more action. Limited budget create the wrong expectations about the type of experience it was offered. And also, in case if you don't know, the developer of this game, Don't Nod, are the same that brought us Life is Strange, so perhaps the public didn't expect a vampire RPG. But despite all of this, why I think it's a game you should give it a chance? Well, it has great combat, captivating characters, and a mission structure that ensures the player sees the direct effects of their actions. London in 1918, during the Spanish flu, an absolutely unique setting. Moral decisions with real and permanent consequences. Around 30 to 40 hours of gameplay, with 4 different endings depending on your choices. Available at a very low price on all platforms. And final, narrative and atmosphere that rival with the best RPGs in the genre. Vampire puts you in a position few games have attempted. You are a vampire doctor in 1918 London, during the Spanish flu, and each person you kill to become stronger is someone you know, with a history, relationships, and a life. You can finish the game without killing anyone, or you can condemn entire neighborhoods to destruction. It's one of the most original and daring premises of recent years, in a game that deserved far more than what received. We Happy Few is a first-person action-adventure game set in a post-World War II dystopia, where Germany has conquered the United Kingdom. All of the children have been taken away, leaving the remaining citizens in a state of despair. The residents of Wellington Wells are kept under control through a drug called joy, which makes them forget the past and live in artificial and forced happiness. You play as Arthur Hastings, a censor of the newspaper circulating in Wellington Wells, until the moment he decides not to take his joy pill. Arthur suddenly remembers that everything in this world is not the wonderful utopia that the little pills make it seem. We Happy Few got caught between two groups of fans, one that wanted the original survival game and another that wanted the Bioshock-style narrative experience, and what we got instead was a game with an identity crisis. A linear action-adventure game that also has a large open world and incessant crafting elements that slow down the excellent story. Some other factors are the bugs and technical issues at launch that drove many players away, launched at a full price for a game that felt like AA. And also, the initial trailer created very different expectations from the final product. We Happy Few has a note of 62 on Metacritic, the lowest note on this list. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not gonna pretend and try to sell you the idea that this game is a masterpiece, but truth be told, I had fun playing this game, and I totally recommend you to get it at a low price, wait for a promotion and try for yourself. Some good points for me are, one of the most original and disturbing universes ever created in a video game. It has an absolutely brilliant narrative about collective trauma, denial and memory. Wellington Wells presents a fascinating portrait of amnesiac post-war dystopia, something no other game has ever explored in this way. 3 protagonists with distinct stories that intertwine in a satisfying way, available at a very reduced price, and you have it on Xbox Game Pass. And every street and especially each house tells a story without needing a single line of dialogue. We Happy Few has one of the most original and disturbing premises of the last decade, an alternate England where everyone is forced to take happiness pills to forget the horrors of the past. It gives me vibes of the movie A Clockwork Orange. The gameplay isn't perfect, but the world and the story are absolutely unique. It's the kind of game that stays with you long after you finish, not for what you did, but for what the game made you think about memory, trauma, and forced happiness. I decided to leave this game to last because for me it's without a doubt one of the most underrated games ever that deserve more attention and respect. Batman Arkham Origins is the prequel to the Arkham series, set on Christmas Eve, with the entire 16-hour story condensed into a single night. The game follows a Dark Knight as he attempts to rid Gotham City of 8 assassins hired by Black Mask to end his existence. More than a traditional prequel, Arkham Origins lays the groundwork for the relationship between Batman and the Joker in the Arkham series mythology, and that's precisely where the game shines uniquely. The most shared opinion among fans who played Origins with open mind is that the story is by far the best in the franchise, the closest thing to the real Batman. In here, we are presented with a darker and deeper narrative, which expresses a more human Batman. The character development is so well done that you can genuinely feel Bruce Wayne's pain, anger and fears. The interaction between him and Alfred is very well done. You can feel the emotional tension of the father-son relationship throughout the game. Batman Arkham Origins has a note of 74 on Metacritic, which for me is incredibly low, especially when you compare to the other games on the series. When I see people online discussing the Batman Arkham series, most fans immediately think of Arkham Asylum, City and Knight. However, there's one game in the series that often gets left out of the conversation, the Origins, just because it was developed by Warner Bros. Games Montreal instead of the usual Rocksteady. Critics and fans frequently cited technical issues and the fact that it wasn't made by the original studio as reasons for not living up to the rest of the series. Some other factors are the constant and unfair comparisons to Arkham City, in my opinion the best of the series and the best Batman game ever made, followed by Arkham Asylum. Frequent bugs and crashes at launch, no active online servers, the multiplayer mode was shut down and never remastered or re-released for modern platforms. I shouldn't even have to need to give you reasons to play this game, but I can name a few. The best story in the entire Arkham series, period. The origin of the relationship between Batman and the Joker told masterfully. Unique atmosphere of Gotham on a snow-covered Christmas Eve. Over 30 hours of gameplay. Memorable boss fights, including an absolutely brutal with Deathstroke. Looking back 13 years after release, it's clear that Arkham Origins deserved far more recognition than it received. Batman Arkham Origins was the forgotten child of the Arkham series, made by a different studio, released with bugs, ignored by critics, but it has something no other game in the series has: the best story. Because seeing a young Batman facing his fears on Christmas Eve while 8 assassins hunt him through the city, that's pure Batman. It's the game the series deserved and that almost no one gave credit for. 13 years later, it's time to do it justice. And that's it guys, I hope you discovered at least one game you didn't know about and that you will give it a try. That was my goal with this video, and also with my channel. These games deserve much more than they received and you deserve to play them. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments which of these games you already played or which one you will try first. And of course, what other games did I forget and should mention in the future. Thank you so much for your company, I'm Yugito and I will see you in the next video.